Sometimes I like to think that I have a decent understanding of what may come next, right? But with all of Fujimoto's stories, the unexpected is usually what comes forward. So even if you have a great grasp on a character or the narrative itself where you think something is going to go, and in Fujimoto's case, you get something else entirely, which is even better than what you expected, but a lot more simpler. I think in my head, I tried to overanalyze or convolute things way too much for myself. And admittedly, sometimes I do lose sight of what's important. So in hindsight, I tried to situate myself in a position that's more, I guess, open to interpretation, to indulge in the story with what Fujimoto is doing or any author, and take it to such an extent that I feel comfortable with. This might sound completely redundant or unimportant, but just a bit of self-reflection. And more so just a couple of conversations I've been having with people that when it comes to the content that I make and how I talk about stories, I'm obviously very obnoxious in a lot of ways. I talk about things that may not even be important and miss smaller things, which sometimes I avoid talking about things in general because I think it's too obvious and perfectly manageable. I think a lot of people see it and it's like, okay, I don't need to mention it. But some things I'll extrapolate a little bit further just for conversation's sake, just to make some sort of entertaining contribution. And in Fujimoto's works, there's so much of it. There's so many different conversations that you can have that may not even be relevant to what is going on. And it just spirals and spirals into something that can be kind of toxic in a way. Not in the worst of ways, but definitely one where you lose sight of that original meaning, which, going back to Fujimoto's one-shots and how he likes to explain himself, sometimes it's not that valuable nor important. At the end of the day, it's each to their own. Interpretation of media and manga is entirely up to you, and finding the beauty within art is important. It should never be taken away. The way I view a story and the way you view a story is going to be different, even just based on our life experiences, how much we know about writing, how much we appreciate certain things. The beauty of that interpretation is the conversation that me and you can obviously have. I express my thoughts and my opinions, concerns, whatever, in a video format, and usually you leave your thoughts within the comments, or you might just agree with yourself or have a conversation with someone else within the comments. I think that's a pretty worthwhile thing. Interpretation is valuable beyond belief, and finding your own beauty within art is very valuable. Apologies for that little rant, but the reason I talk about this is because this chapter I don't think is something that a lot of people expected. This feels so simple and effortless and sincere, if anything. There's really not all too much here in terms of movement or progression of story, but there's a lot when it comes to an overall sense of emotion or a theme. Just the general tone and sensitivity of characters is really beautiful. You start off with our three characters, Yoshida, a new character named Yuko, and obviously Asa Mitaka, and they're our little devil hunting group going around the school campus. For some reason, Asa has a sword, katana, samurai sword of some sorts, and they're just looking for anything that they can do within the school, becoming protectors, if you will. When you're getting introduced to these characters, Yoshida and Yuko, obviously, they do this really cute thing of saying that they're big fans of Chainsaw Man, which kind of just leads me down that idea that both of them are obviously here for Denji, to either watch over him, protect him, or supply him information, whatever it may be, to clean up maybe even any mess that he makes and isn't able to clean up on his own. I do think this is heralded by Kishibe, the older, wiser individual, kind of taking control of the situation. So he can keep an eye on Denji, who keeps an eye on Naruto, who keeps an eye on the Control Devil, etc., etc. So I like this little introduction that they have. It feels oddly genuine, which is kind of weird coming from Yoshida because he seems so quiet and kind of stoic in a way, but we know he has this kind of pinch of comedic value there. What I mean is that you never really know what he's thinking. This could be equally just him playing the game and trying to fit in as best as possible. Admittedly, I didn't even think he was 16, and for some reason, I still don't think he is. I am led to believe that this man is at least within his early 20s and has no need to be in this school, but for protective sakes and working with Denji, it'd make a lot of sense. And he's kind of just both fitting in, but also standing out because obviously he's attractive and a lot of people notice him very easily. It's kind of funny. When it comes to the word genuine, however, I'm curious on how much it actually is, because Yuko, the woman that we get introduced to and finally have a name for, seems very genuine. She seems like she's going to be a great companion or friend to Asa, and the way that Fujimoto does this is by bringing forth a massive sense of dread, anxiety, depression, just overthinking everything, an emotional overload of thoughts for Asa, because she sees people walking past, she can only remember what happened to Bucky, and she does cop it. She is getting pretty disrespected and talked about and bullied, and she goes back to her locker and has meat on her shoes, and it's a bad time. And this was was something that obviously she was dreading. And it's building up this anxiety within her, and you can kind of see the sensitivity of all of it within Fujimoto's artwork. He definitely takes his time building it up super slow. It's why I have such a massive appreciation for this chapter, and the fact that the story has been shifted over to Jump Plus is that you can produce these slow, methodical, kind of tonal building type chapters without it being sacrificial, without it feeling rushed or shoehorned in with other characters to feel like it has to lynch onto the next big thing. This chapter is perfect for Jump Plus, perfect for Fujimoto, because he can just lay out everything and take such a nice methodical approach to building the characters and portraying them in a really emotional way. And Asa is a great example of it, taking his time and showing the ins and outs of it and the struggles that she's going through. And this is backed by Yuko, who is becoming more of a genuine friend and really helping Asa through these tough times. She sees her getting bullied, sees her walking away from school without a pair of shoes, and decides to give her one of her own, forcing her to chase after Yuko back to her house so she can give the other shoe to her. It seems kind and courteous, but also plays as a distraction to get Asa out of this mental slump of anxiety and dread and fearing all of this bullying that's going to happen around her, and Yuko kind of taking that away and charging her forward to chase after her, distracting her mentally and even emotionally. And it does work for a time. We have to remember that Asa didn't really have any friends prior to this. She didn't have anyone to really lean on or to talk to or to be supported by, so having that genuine compassion from Yuko and potentially even Yoshida in the future within his own way is really nice. Now my concern, in typical Fujimoto fashion, is how real is all of this? Is this Yuko being nice and friendly and that's a core trait of her identity, or is this someone that's just playing a ruse? Someone that's doing their best to fit in because they have an ulterior motive or mission? I would feel incredibly sad and bad for Asa if this turned out to be true. If Yuko's compassion and friendship was just a ruse to fit more in with the school, to not draw attention. Unfortunately, there's no real way to know that. I can only give Yuko the benefit of the doubt and say that she's a kind person and that she's going to be hopefully a nice friend to Asa. I actually think the three of them, Yoshida, Yuko, and Asa, are going to be a pretty nice friend group, to the point, and just running a complete hypothetical down here, they actually start to confide in Asa a little bit, telling them the truth about Denji or Chainsaw Man specifically and why they're actually there. I would love to see something like that, building that trifecta relationship out further, and then having Denji introduce himself at some point, maybe not even claiming to be Chainsaw Man, but just integrating into the group and having this friendship between them, which I think would be really nice, kind of normal, and a great way for us as readers to see the dynamic build between Asa and Denji, while technically none of them tell the truth about who they actually are. So they all kind of harbor their secrets, but then obviously no one really has a clue what Asa is with the War Devil, and I'm sure Denji's going to hold his own secrets with how that works. So do you see the potential dynamic and friendship and conflict that could actually come between all of them? And depending on how Fujimoto wants to build the story with these characters, that could be a really great way to go about it. When you early on pull up their characters, because their identity and personality is so different, they couple and work with each other extremely well. Creates this nice sense of balance where you can have slow and methodical chapters like this, just building a type of emotion or a tone, and it comes through extremely thick. Something that is effortlessly always impressive with Fujimoto is the atmosphere that he's able to build, and it only takes one character, that is Asa Mitaka, showing this type of anxiety that's so crippling for her. The close-up on her face, the overall sweating, just the fear in her eyes, you can feel it fully. Seeing that potentially become worse is going to be very heartbreaking, but hopefully there is a place for her to heal it, and Yuko is a start for it. Yoshida is also there, and potentially even Denji. Now, something that I find really funny is the War Devil's kind of take on all of this. When she's getting bullied, the War Devil says that this is a pretty normal thing within human and devil societies in certain aspects. Do you want me to take care of it? And I was kind of taken back by this frontal approach. The War Devil seems both oddly compassionate but understanding, but also just destructive in a perfect sense, and really just puts themselves in the altercation. No one asked for the War Devil, even though it's constantly existing within Asa and experiencing everything, but they kind of just chime in whenever they want, which is really funny to me, especially when she's running away with no shoes on and it's actually hurtful. The War Devil chimes in on this as well, saying that yes, this is hurting us, please put on some damn shoes. There's something about that duality that I find comforting but also rather funny. Asa's having this anxiety anxiety attack almost, and just concerned about all of these things and being bullied and worried and just having it rough. And the War Devil just appears like, hey, put on some damn shoes. Hey, do you want me to obliterate them off the face of the earth? I can do that. We have that power. Seeing how this chapter turned out makes me really excited for the future, because Jump Plus is a great place for stories to really take their time to build anything and everything. If a chapter wants to be really quick, it can be. But if a chapter wants to be real slow and burn over time and build everything in a really nice and comforting way, adding to that intensity, the thickness of the atmosphere, the tension, the tone, everything really, just taking it in iterations to help chalk up its characters further, this is the best place to do it. And I understand the chapter itself isn't going to be for everyone, but it plays such an important role within the bigger picture, giving more life, more personality, more sensitivity to these characters and their emotions, and really making everything valuable. You don't see this type of stuff all too often within Weekly Shonen Jumpers, because they want to get you to the action, they want to get you to the hook. So now that we're in a place where we can take it slower, I would expect more of this more often. And with how personal and enjoyable it can be, I don't think we have anything to worry about. Realistically, it wouldn't get much slower than this. And if you like this chapter, if you appreciate the slow motion of it, by all means, you're going to enjoy this entire story. Plus, I think this gives us the most clear understanding of an introduction to Fujimoto's works. You have kind of the full rounded picture now. The first chapter was chaotic and destructive and really showed the Chainsaw Man Fujimoto appeal, but this is slow and methodical, only 2 chapters later. What I'm trying to say is that I'm very appreciative of these moments. I enjoy them wholeheartedly, and I hope Fujimoto feels comfortable in taking his time even more to explore different avenues, to write characters the way he sees fit, and to really build them the way he wants to. I love it, I enjoy it, I appreciate it, and I'm always happy for more. Let me know how you felt about the chapter. Did you love it, hate it, think it was alright? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed. Drink plenty of water, and I will see you within the next one. Goodbye.